Okay, welcome back to Daryl D TV. This is Daryl D. Hey, I have a very exciting video. We just had a Comic-Con here in my area in Phoenix, the Phoenix metropolitan area, basically. And it was just my kind of cons. So, basically, several years ago, I stopped going to comic conventions because I was only there for the comics. I really wasn't interested in anything else that was going on there. Basically, meaning the first con I ever went to, which was probably in the mid-2000s, I thought everything that was going on there was really interesting. It was like, whoa, all these people are dressed up, and you got all these different panels in these different rooms, and people talking about all these things related to comics and movies and cartoons and even, short stories and writers and things of that nature. I remember walking through this one area and there was all types of weaponry from different comic books and movies and whatnot, and, tons of toys, and of course, you have the people from the movies making appearances and different artists and all of that stuff. But I was just there to buy comic books. And this was during a time when I was like really going after full runs of some of my favorite books. I was collecting my Daredevil run at the time, Power Man and Iron Fist, including the Luke Cage and the Iron Fist titles. Submariner. I was just going hard body for that kind of stuff back then. So I was just really focused on buying those comics. And it just didn't make sense to me that since I really wasn't interested in a lot of this other stuff, to pay $30, $40 just to buy comic books when I can just go in the comic shops and not pay to actually enter. So I stopped going. A couple months ago, I found out that we had this one comic convention coming to town. Not coming to town, but we were having it here in town. And it was called the Scottsdale Comic Book Show, aka the Old Man Con. Now, from one of the guys that kind of helped out with this convention, he explained to me a while back that they kind of call it the Old Man Con because they were getting back to the basics of comic collecting. Just books, classic books, not a whole lot of the newest of the new or the trendy kind of books, but a lot of your classic old school back issues. That's what they were basically focusing on. Sounds like my kind of convention, right? So I go there, and basically it's in the in one of the conference rooms at a hotel here in town, and it was nothing but comics. That's it. Comics, comics, comics. So we're going to take a look at some of the highlights of that show, and then we're going to come back and I'm going to show you some of the things I picked up. All right? Let's take a look.
This is Harley still on it. Oh, it's the Fantastic. It's got that story.
Yeah, to piece in the story. Yeah, I wouldn't care.
It's a nice copy.
How you doing, buddy?
How are you?
Good.
Well, I have all my receipts around the water.
Are you local?
Yep, we got 4 stores. Got a card if you want one.
Sure.
You looking for anything in particular?
I think I bought some stuff earlier from you.
Oh, okay.
I'll be back.
Yeah. We'll be here the whole time.
Thank you. Oh, you're samurai. Okay,
Yeah.
right on.
You're two, and that's about it. Everything else is cosplay and toys, and it's
That's a little odd because every other city
that's comic conventions.
has a lot of comic book conventions because, you know, with social media,
Right.
it's, really easier to get a crowd.
I'm actually very surprised because this is a large city. Phoenix is the 5th largest city in America, so it's like, how come there's no Comic Con?
Hey, did you find some undergrounds?
I did.
They were right over
Yeah,
there. Did
that
you grab
guy.
some?
Vegas,
Yeah, I did. I grabbed some good ones.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
We don't really have a lot, but I've gotten a collection of about
7 or 8 cars in front of his house at any given time, and a couple in the garage. And they all had different license plates on them from all over the country. Right?
Oh, wow, okay.
Because he would, when he was in different places, he'd find a good deal.
Yeah, well, you've got, like iTunes.
And it just, it always is.
I need to learn how to hold this.
That's all I want to see.
pretty good.
Better than the American community?
Well, it's pricier.
Fantastic 450.
What happened?
On the end.
1200 on a sticker, but it might be cheaper. I'd have to look it up. Over to 7. Do you like the condition? I mean, they change the price. You can't change the condition. It's too high?
Right. Just everybody, you see like
7 fair market 650. That'd be 600.
or you could just tell everybody has their rack behind their stuff. Oh, thank you.
I priced a lot of these during the COVID nuttiness, and you know, I probably paid more than that for it. 6.5. Then I'd have to look it up. This one's the pink label at priced in during COVID.
Okay, we're back. So we took a quick look at basically what was going on there. That was my kind of show, just comics and some of my favorite comics. Now, if you follow any of my Corben videos, then you know that I've pretty much found all of the books that I wanted from Richard Corben. And my list is very, very small. By the way, this is sort of a collaboration between a video talking about the Old Man Con and my latest Richard Corben video. The few books that I had on my Corben list that I was looking for are very expensive books. In fact, I didn't think I was going to find anything at this convention of books that were on my list. I mean, we're talking less than, we're talking maybe 5 books or less that was on my list. But you never know what might happen, right? So first of all, let me just say that I'm a big fan of comic magazines. I have been since the first time I got my hands on any. So I want to show you just a few things that I picked up, and then we'll get into some of the better stuff right after that. First of all, as far as comic conventions, I've never seen as many comic magazines as I saw at this show. There was a ton of them, and there was a ton that were very reasonably priced. So the first thing I want to show you is some of the magazines I picked up. There was this one guy who had, he probably had, man, probably a dozen boxes of magazines, comic magazines, and then he had a dollar box, a real nice dollar box, to which I was able to find the Punisher magazine, issue number 3 there. I do have some Punisher in my collection, so I was happy to add that to it. I don't know if any of you guys ever heard of The Destroyer. The Destroyer is basically a story about, or a book about, you know, some government agent, some hotshot government agent has to go over to Asia somewhere and team up with this guy who's like a martial arts master or whatever, can, you know, basically break your back with his fingers, that kind of guy. They have to team up for whatever, you know, mission that they need to accomplish or whatever. I think it's really cool. This guy here has no filter. He tells it like it is. So I believe back in the day, I found issue number 1, and I, you know, never really looked for any more. I have so many other magazines I need to catch up on. But I was able to find a few copies here. This is issue number 4. And I was also able to find issue number 6. $1 a piece. Pretty cool, right? So from the same vendor, this was a $5 book. This is issue number 1 of Monsters of the Movies. And there you got Spock battling a giant, I don't know what that thing is. Looks like a leech or something. I don't know. But if you followed any of these videos, my comic videos, you know that I'm a big horror fan, a big sci-fi fan, and monster and scary comics. So this is right up my alley too. There was a lot more of these. He probably had just about every issue of this, but I had to reserve some of my funds for some other stuff. So as I'm looking around, I'm asking about underground comics because that's the quickest way to find some Richard Corben stuff. I was directed to this one guy. Man, I forgot. Where's his card? I grabbed a few cards. Let me see if I can find his card. Is that it? Here we go. The Comic Seller. He's out of Alhambra, California. Somewhere in California. He told me he was in LA. Okay. This guy had one of the biggest selections, up to this date actually, the biggest selection of underground comics that I've ever seen. He had 3 complete long boxes. I picked up an issue of what's the name of that book? Inner City Romance. The first issue of that a while back, maybe 6-7 months ago. And I've been trying to look for the rest of that run, and I asked this guy, did he have any of those? He said he started looking around and he goes, "Oh, I didn't bring that box. I didn't have enough room, but I know I priced the entire run of that title last night." So he had that entire run. But he had, I mean, his selection was simply incredible, and it seemed to me that every book seemed to be in mint condition. Now, they were kind of pricey, but if you were ever looking for for some undergrounds, you want to check this guy out. Comic Seller. Tell him Daryl D sent you. I'm looking through his comics, and man, it was unbelievable the stuff that I saw in there. A lot of them I had never seen before, but one of the books on my list was Hot Stuff. The first 3 issues are really, really expensive. And issue number 1, I don't think I've ever seen that book for less than $200. Issue number 2 and 3, I don't think I've ever seen for less than $90. Basically between $90 and $160 is what I've been seeing. But I was able to find issue #3. And I left the price tags on some of these books so I would remember exactly what I paid for. But issue #3, as you can see, $20 on that book. And when I tell you this sucker's in mint condition, it is nice. And, you know, I'm not a big stickler for, you know, the super minty copies of books. But if you can find the books you're looking for a decent price, it's worth a mention, right? So, wow. Didn't think that I would find this. And considered basically that I was done with my list. The chances of finding some of that stuff just didn't seem too realistic to me. But to find Hot Stuff #3 for $20 when the cheapest I've ever seen was $90 was an incredible find. So I was very, very happy about this purchase, obviously. Another book that I found with this guy, and I've never seen this book before, but it looks super cool, and right up my alley was a book called Super Soul Comics. And this is issue #1. This is from Kitchen Sink. Issue #1. Sold it to me for $15. Have any of you guys ever seen this one? Anything with soul in the title with some brothers on the cover is right up my alley. Haven't gotten a chance to crack this one open yet, but definitely was happy about this purchase. Hopefully I didn't pay too much. Most of the books he had I own already, and were his prices were a lot more than what I paid, but his books were in tip-top condition. I'm telling you, this guy is worth checking out if you are looking for underground titles. So Super Soul Comics issue #1, I'm happy to add that to my underground collection. Now, another book that I recently added to my list that I didn't even think about or was looking at. I mean, look, I have my list on my phone. So when I was referencing some of the things on my phone, I didn't even look at this title because it was in another section on my phone. And basically, like I said, I knew what I was looking for. It was only, you know, a small handful of books that I didn't think I was going to see anyway. But one of those books was a book called Static. And I was on IG maybe within a month ago, and I see this guy talking about this book. And we on, some of you guys know who the Static character is on Milestone DC. Nothing I would really get into just by, you know, looking at this guy. But issue #40 features a rap group called the Lost Boys. And if you are familiar with the Lost Boys, you know that they're this super cool rap group out of Queens, New York. Freaky Ty and all those guys. And this book, when I did some research on, I personally could not find this book for less than, I think it started at $160. And I saw it between $160 and $200 something for like these graded copies. So I didn't even, you know, I put it on my list, my comic book list, but I didn't ever think I was going to ever find one, especially for a price that I could afford. And I kind of put it there as a reference, put it on my list as a reference, because I didn't think I would remember the title Static. Okay, so if you look real close, you can see that I paid $20 for this book. I couldn't even believe it. And I'm kind of walking around. I go by this one vendor, this woman, and I'm looking through some stuff, and I see, you know, the Static title thing sticking out. And I go, So I start flipping through, and I go, what are the chances that they have the Lost Boys issue? Boom. They have it. And for $20. Now, Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm just not looking hard enough. But to find this for 20 bucks when I've been seeing 160, 180, 200, 225, all the way up to 265 for this book. This was crazy. I did not think that I would find this book, or at least that I would be able to afford this book, like, ever. Because I don't pay that kind of money for comic books. No. But to find this static book was simply incredible. And since I bought this, I figured, why not? I'll pick up the first copy of Static. I believe this might be a variant cover. I know this has 2 different covers, but I picked up this book, issue number 1, and as you can see there and here, it was $30. Well, she gave me both books for $40. So basically 20 bucks a piece. I was able to get Static issue number 1 and issue number 40 featuring the Lost Boys. Not bad, if you ask me. So I was extremely happy about that purchase. Wasn't even on my mind when I went there, and ended up taking not only 1 but 2 Static titles home with me. Now, not only, back to the underground stuff, not only did I run into this one guy who had more underground titles than I've ever seen, but it was more vendors selling undergrounds than I've ever seen. There was there probably, I'm estimating, maybe there was maybe 20 vendors, 15, 20 vendors in there tops, but it filled up the whole room. And I would say at least 4, maybe 5, 4 or 5 of those vendors had undergrounds. Another one that was on my list that I didn't know, because I'm focusing on the comic book size. I'm not really going for, you know, the magazines. I do have a lot of them, and I feature some of them on some past videos. But if I come across the magazine size Corben featured books and they're a decent price, I'll definitely pick them up and then tell you guys about them later. But I'm not going hard body for them, you know, not unless there was something kind of rare or something that I just really wanted. Well, there was this one vendor who had one of those books. Very shocked. This is actually a fanzine, magazine size, Funny World number 14. Didn't expect to see this one. This talks about Fritz the Cat. There's a lot of interviews, you know, in this book. And as you can see there, color comics by Richard Corben. This book was 30 bucks. The guy had it priced at, and I was able to get it for $20. This guy, before I go any further, his name is Dave Huxley. His business is called Vintage Advantage. He's out of Tucson, Arizona. So I just want to show him some love, because he showed me some love with Funny World number 14. Let's take a look inside here and see what we're looking at here. I just kind of came across this book. I didn't know anything about it, but I found it online and said, yeah, you know, let me put this on the list, and if I come across it, then fantastic. So this is a story called Going Home. It's the only story in this book that is actually in color. Sci-fi action going on here. I believe it's only about 10 pages. You know, that classic Richard Corben coloring and shading. And this is another one that is usually a little on the pricey side. But I was happy to pick this one up and knock that one off of my comic magazine list, if you will. Funny World number 14. What are the chances that I would find this book and find the exact issue? This was the only copy of Funny World that he had, and it was the right copy, the very one that I was looking for. So that was great. Last but not least, I want to send a big shout out to the guys over at Fantastic World Comics over in Scottsdale, Arizona. Those are the guys behind that convention, and it was them that I found the very first issue of Heavy Metal magazine, which features the art of Richard Corben and also has a story by Von Bold, another favorite of mine. And you had all of Morbius and a couple of other your favorite sci-fi horror type of writers and artists were also featured in this book. Now this is another one that I never did much research on this, but once I saw this, I kind of did a little searching around and found out that this book goes for a pretty penny. Usually it's anywhere between $70 and $125. That's what my research led me to. This book was priced at $25. The gentleman was nice enough to give it to me for $20, so got to knock that one off my list. And yeah, you can see where that was a subscription label that was removed from there. No problem at all. I just want to read the cool stories and check out the cool art in here. But to be able to have the first issue of Corben's Den is appeared in here. Den appeared in like 3 or 4 different books over the years, maybe more, but I believe this might be the first appearance of Den. If that's wrong, somebody correct me. But this is a cool book. Nice to knock this one off of the list. Not that it was ever on the list in the first place, but for it to be, a first issue, classic story, my favorite artist, was incredible. So yeah, there you have it, man. I'm looking forward to the next con that comes through, the next Scottsdale comic book show, aka Old Man Con. They do it twice a year. I believe the next one is in April, I believe I was told. And so we're looking forward to that one. I told that it may be in a bigger space, so that means more vendors and more comics. So me going to this show and thinking that I wasn't going to leave with anything, at least nothing off of my list, and being able to knock three books, 3 Corben books. That was incredible. It was a good day. And so that's going to do it. Make sure you come back and check out some of my other videos. I'll be back with another Richard Corben video very soon. I have some very exciting stuff to show you on the next Corben video. So you guys make sure you come back and check that out with me. All right? Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you later. Peace and love.